This is The World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. If you're hearing this, congrats. You've survived another week of democracy zip-tied to a Segway, careening toward the edge of the cliff while the crowd chants, "Crash! Crash! Crash!" America is deep in an identity crisis. Except instead of therapy, we scream into our phones and elect people who think libraries are Marxist training camps. The headlines? Still unhinged. The politics? Still for sale. And the national mood? Somewhere between caffeine withdrawal and a midlife crisis, functioning on autopilot with the check engine light on. Now, you might be listening in your car or out on a walk or hiding in the laundry room with the dog pretending you don't live here anymore. But you're here, and that matters. Because this podcast, it's not polished by consultants or filtered through a corporate boardroom. Just one voice, raw and real. It's just me, a mic, a brain full of unresolved commentary, and a golden retriever next to me wondering why the hell I'm yelling at in a closet again. Don't forget, later in this Friday edition, I've got a fresh round of news from the Edge of Sanity. The kind of stories that'll make you say, wait, seriously? Yes, seriously. And yes, they're all have probably happened in Florida. But first, let's dive in. Because while the headlines keep spinning like a Roomba on Red Bull, somebody's got to grab the mic and say what we're all thinking. And that somebody is me. So let's roll. And speaking of rolling, the Department of Justice didn't just cross a line. They gunned it straight through the guardrail and parked a subpoena truck on Letitia James' lawn like they were delivering a message from the mob. That's right, the same attorney general who dragged Trump's sleazy financial empire through court and left it bleeding like a stuck pig. She's now being targeted by the feds for the high crime of exposing his bullshit. This isn't justice, it's revenge, spray painted using Trump's ego. And in this story, the crooks aren't hiding in back rooms. They're holding the pens and delivering the subpoenas. So after winning one of the biggest fraud judgments in American history, after prying open Trump's gilded clown car of lies and showing the receipts in court for everyone to see, Letitia James is now being investigated by the Department of Justice. Let me say that again for anyone still clinging to reality. The federal government is going after the prosecutor, not the fraud. 2 subpoenas, 2 federal grand juries, one for her case against Trump, one for her case against the NRA. Apparently, if you hold the rich and powerful accountable, you don't get protection, you get paperwork. According to reports, federal prosecutors in the Northern District of New York, yes, the same DOJ that magically forgot to charge Trump for a half a decade, have now decided the real threat to democracy is the black woman who had the spine to say, yeah, I'm taking this guy to court. This is the political equivalent of selling your house on fire, or setting your house on fire, rather, because you didn't like the color of the smoke alarm. Let's talk about who Letitia James is. She's the one who exposed Trump's fake property values, his overblown net worth, his spreadsheet of lies. How is that not fraud from Trump? She didn't just beat him. She embarrassed him in public, in court, with interest. And now she's the one under investigation? This isn't justice. This isn't oversight. This is Trump's Department of Petty Vengeance cosplaying as law enforcement, while the rest of the world watches like, is this performance art or an actual coup? And let's not ignore the insult to intelligence. They're not investigating her for misconduct, fraud, corruption. No. They're investigating her for winning, for doing her job, for enforcing the law, for proving that if you defraud banks and inflate assets and lie like you're trying to speedrun prison, you might, just might, have to pay for it. But instead of backing her, the DOJ is chasing its tail around a golden toilet, subpoenaing the only person in the room who didn't lie. This is the part where the justice system takes off the mask, reveals it was Twitter the whole time, and screams, "I'm not mad you committed the crime. I'm mad at the person who caught you," which of course is absurd. And now from the man who brought you steak with no sizzle, vodka no one drank, and a university that graduated absolutely no one, comes a brand new prophecy from Donald the Delusional One. This time, he's warning that if the courts strike down his precious tariffs, we're headed straight for a Great Depression. Not a recession, not a downturn. A 1929 breadline, stock market crashing, Grapes of Wrath reboot. Apparently, if we stop charging extra for imported microwaves and discount bras, the economy will collapse. The Dust Bowl will return, and we'll all be selling apples on street corners. So get ready, because Trump says if he can't play God with global trade, you might want to start investing in a soup kitchen. Let's try to deal with this flaming horseshit. Trump warning we're about to replay 1929 if courts overturn his tariffs. That warning comes straight from his trademark podium, Truth Social, aka the Digital Bully Pulpit. Warning, Wolfpack listeners, listening to Trump's comments may cause your genitals to fall off and your brain to rot from his perpetual BS. Okay, here's what Trump posted. Tariffs are having a huge positive impact on the stock market. Almost every day new records are set. Hundreds of billions of dollars are pouring into our country's coffers. If a radical left court ruled against us, it would be impossible to ever recover. It would be 1929 all over again, a Great Depression. Let that sink in. Listen to the pacing. Tariffs are having a huge positive impact. New records every day, he says, like you believe he's tracking charts instead of just tweeting. Hundreds of billions pouring into our coffers, because apparently Trump's convinced the U.S. Treasury is stuffing cash into a wheelbarrow labeled #MAGA, while regular Americans are paying $2,400 more annually. Then the kicker. If a radical left court ruled against us, it would be 1929 all over again, a Great Depression. Yet Trump's comparing opposing a trade policy to the largest economic collapse in U.S. history. The lack of proportional thinking here is staggering, but predictable for a man who treats truth like a speed limit. Advisory only. So let's eviscerate this. He's pitching fear like it's a used car salesman pitch. The real market instability, that's coming from Trump's tariffs, not whether judges do their jobs. His radical left court rhetoric, there's no left or right here. It's constitutional review. The irony, in 2025, GDP is stalling, inflation is creeping up, supply chains are still rattled. And Trump saying removing tariffs is the apocalypse? It's bureaucratic theater, manufactured panic to distract from chaos. This is no economic playbook, everyone. It's ego mileage. Trump's lost his bearings and perhaps his marbles, believing the U.S. economy hangs on his whim. We're watching a man tossed around like a diva whose world only spins if the haters don't step on his shadow. Let that settle. In Trump's world, we don't crash because of climate or bad policy. We crash if someone dares question his trade tantrums. And this is where it stops being funny and starts being insane. Because we're watching a man publicly unravel, saying more and more unhinged, detached from reality garbage with each passing day. And the media still reports it like a policy position, not a cry for help wrapped in a Substack newsletter. This isn't economics. It's the out loud diary of a guy whose last brain cell is being held hostage by his own reflection. He's lost the plot. He's lost the thread. Hell, he may never have had it to begin with. But now we're all supposed to pretend that Great Depression #2 tariff boogaloo is a serious warning? It's not. It's the hallucination of a man who thinks reality is something he can retweet. Now that was part of the news, pretending to be serious. Now let's visit the part that forgot its meds. Welcome to News from the Edge of Sanity, where the headlines twitch, logic flees the scene, and reality, she files a restraining order. Let's talk about absurd military strategy. What happens when you give the Pentagon too much money and too much free time? Because while the rest of us are figuring out how to pay rent, the U.S. Army just got themselves a shiny new toy, Elon Musk's Cybertruck. Not to drive it into battle, not to haul supplies, not even to run silent recon at night. Nope. They're using Musk's Cybertruck to shoot at. That's right. The Department of Defense bought several $88,000 bulletproof electric Batmobiles so they could use them as target practice. Why? Because what better way to show combat readiness than unleashing 50 caliber machine guns on a stainless steel wedge that looks like a rejected prop from the movie Total Recall? According to reports, the Army wants to see how the Cybertruck holds up under combat-like scenarios. Translation, they're bored. And Elon probably offered them a group discount. But it gets better, listeners. They're doing field exercises, which we all know means grown men in camouflage taking turns firing bazookas at Teslas while pretending it's for national security. Somewhere in a Pentagon boardroom, there was a straight-faced conversation that went, "Gentlemen, let's shoot the electric truck. Brilliant! American democracy secured! Yay! Flags waving." Now listen, I'm not saying this is a waste of taxpayers' dollars. Okay, wait. That's exactly what I'm saying. You know what else they could have tested? Affordable housing under artillery fire. Or maybe the strength of democracy when shot point blank with lies. But no, they chose the Cybertruck because in 2025, reality is a video game. And the U.S. military is apparently playing Grand Theft Auto, Pentagon Edition. Next news from the Edge of Sanity. I pivot from the U.S. military firing rounds at Elon's bulletproof ego to Donald Trump Jr. Yes, that walking Adderall commercial. The man who thinks a Wi-Fi signal is a political ideology. Because Jr. has entered the chat, and he brought memes with him. Not facts, not insight, just a giant digital dildo. And a desperate cry for attention. Let me explain. Just when you thought the Trump family circus couldn't get any weirder, Donald Trump Jr., heir to the world's most dysfunctional golden toilet dynasty, he decided to chime in on the latest bizarre moment in American sports. Fans throwing dildos onto WNBA courts. Yes, they are throwing actual rubber phalluses. Now, during a recent game, the crowd hurled a full-blown dildo onto the court mid-play, not just once. This has happened multiple times now at games, turning what should be basketball into the adult toy aisle at Target with a three-pointer attached. So how does Donald Trump Jr. make this worse? He jumped in, not to condemn this, not to question this, but to post a meme mocking the situation. Donald Trump shared an AI-generated meme depicting his father, President Trump, tossing a neon green sex toy from the White House roof onto a WNBA basketball court. The caption below the meme that he posted without further comment. That phrase was paired with laughing emojis, and it's the only text he included. But he shared it with full gusto Because if there's one thing Junior loves more than cocaine-adjacent energy and fake machismo, it's shoveling misogynistic garbage into the public discourse and calling it wit. What is he trying to say here? That throwing sex toys at female athletes is funny? That this is what makes women's sports watchable? That assaulting a player with an airborne dildo is part of good old-fashioned conservative entertainment? It's not just immature. It's not just creepy. It's a snapshot of how broken the public stage is when people like Trump Jr. have microphones and no filters. We are now officially living in a time where presidential offspring are amplifying dildo memes, while the actual WNBA tries to figure out how to clean this mess up and the culture. And if you're wondering whether anyone in the Trump family has even the faintest grasp on decency, the answer is flying through the air with a suction cup on one end. That was your news from the Edge of Sanity. That's now a regular segment on my Friday episodes. A friendly reminder that while the headlines are terrifying, the sidelines are completely unhinged. I'm not saying the world's unwell, but it just tried to high-five a ceiling fan and lost 3 fingers. Wolfpack listeners, if you have comments, rants, or emotional outbursts, or maybe just email me a photo of a half-eaten Slim Jim and a deflated balloon with a caption in it that reads, "I laughed, I cried, I challenged a squirrel to a duel and lost. Thanks, Jeff." Email me anytime, madworldtalk@gmail.com, madworldtalk@gmail. Write me something brilliant. Write me something unhinged. Write me something that can be turned into my next tattoo. Or leave me a message on my 24/7 free voicemail line, 833-399-9653, toll free. Some of you have actually started using the phone number. Yay, after a year and a half. Also, please leave a review on Apple or Spotify. It's the only way this product gets noticed instead of buried. Without your stars and comments, Apple and Spotify think I'm just a guy shouting into a Pringles can during visiting hours. This has been A World Gone Mad. I'm Jeff Allen Wolf. I'll be back Monday because someone has to say the shit that no one else will. And apparently, that job's mine. Until then, Wolfpack listeners, stay skeptical, stay focused, and most of all, stay hopeful.